You are entering the cosmos.
Hi everybody, it's Em. We'd like to welcome you tonight and thank you all for joining us for the Embracing Hope campaign. This is the first of 2 open forums that we're going to have. We just have a few guests that are going to come on and talk about their story or what they do in the field of mental health or helping others. And I want to thank a few people before we even start. I'd like to thank everybody who has joined and done a testimony live. They've been just overpowering, just beautiful, and we really appreciate it. I want to thank Bethy and Jake and all of SDF, everybody who's mentioned the campaign this month, everybody that's involved, and of course the people that performed today and those that will be here tonight. All the information is in the link in the description if you'd like to donate to NAMI. It's National Alliance for Mental Illness, and that is who you will pay directly right to them. So here we go. I want to read a story. I received an email, and no matter what else happens this entire month, I am just overjoyed because I received an email for somebody after Jay Thompson had his performance, and later on Jay's coming on and I will read it to you, but it's just really awesome. So we're going to bring on Diane Coll next, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about mental health. Hi, Diane.
I am. Man, what a
Thank you
day,
so
huh?
much. Thank you for your performance today. It was just, I was so honored that you shared your story and your song with us all. I
Oh,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
That was
That was
hard.
beautiful.
That's a story I don't share very
I
often.
could tell it was hard. I
Yeah.
was honored. Thank
Mm,
you.
well,
So
thank
if you
you.
could just tell everybody a little bit, like, the phone numbers and the signs, maybe what to, when do you reach out? What should you do? That sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I hope I wrote 988 dark
You
enough so
did.
everyone can see it behind me. This is the number. If there's any number to remember, it is 988. I know there are other numbers, 10-digit phone numbers, but this is the one. Use this one because, when you're in distress, and I've certainly been there several times in my life, the last thing you need to do is to try to remember a 10-digit phone number. So this is it right here.
988. That's the number, everybody. Write
Yeah.
it down. Keep it close. It's like
Yeah,
911. 988. Easy to remember.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And you were asking about signs or symptoms. And, I think I could speak for me. I know when I'm starting to dip is if I really just stop caring about things. They say here's the fancy name for it. It's anhedonia, which basically means you
I
just
never heard
become
that.
numb to things that give you pleasure, things that give you joy. All of a sudden, you just don't care, and that's a big one. That is certainly a big one. So
So,
even if you find yourself feeling that way, just, do that type of inventory.
so I can tell you a little story about myself. Um, I got diagnosed, obviously, with a serious illness. It was about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And, I was actually, after 3 or 4 years of looking for a diagnosis and going through that process, it was a relief to get a diagnosis. As dire as it was still like, yay.
Yeah.
10 years later, I had gone through a lot. I had had multiple surgeries, medications, treatments, therapies,
Mm.
uh, back and forth to Boston, all that fun stuff. And they decided I had the wrong diagnosis. The same month that happened, not only did I have the wrong diagnosis, but all the transfusions and the treatments that I had and the chemo, everything I had done, made what I do have worse.
Oh,
So it was counterproductive. So I'd gone all through that for, nothing, basically. Or not
wow.
even nothing to make it worse. I found that out the same week that I lost my dad.
Oh,
So it was like about a month later, I went on a vacation that had already been planned for like 3 days with my mom and my sister. And I pulled in my yard, and I had nothing wrong in my life, like other than all that. Like, I have a great husband, great support system. I got out of my mom's car after 3 days, and I was all excited to go home. I stepped out of the car. My husband came out of the house with my son, and it was like the sky just collapsed. It was that instant that
yeah.
it hit me. And I turned around, I got in the car, and my mom said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I need to leave. Just take me, I need to leave." And
Wow.
I mean, I went into a pretty bad depression. It was really bad for quite a while. And
Yeah.
I barely had the strength to pretend I was okay to visit with Linda Rose, right? Like it was that bad. So everybody else was just, I couldn't even, but, and
Yeah.
I can't even tell you what pulled me out of it. I called my husband one day and I said, "I need you to come over." I was at my mom's and I said, "I need you to come over." And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because I don't think I'll make it through this day." And that was the turning point.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying, I think is so true and so common. It's sort of like it really can just, life can catch up with us and all of a sudden it's like,
Yeah, that was
in,
instant. It was like I couldn't go back to just life, like normal life. I just couldn't face it. It just was like,
in the
so
energy.
yeah, I mean, it can be so different for everybody, right?
Yeah, yeah, but I think that wave that you're talking about is so common. I experienced something like that when I was 25, and I can't even tell you what was the catalyst or catalyst. All of a sudden, one day, I remember I got home from work. I unplugged. Well, actually, at first, I called work, so I'm not going to be
Yeah.
in. I unplugged my phone and I completely shut myself off for a week. And for no rhyme or reason, it was just this heavy, heavy weight. I didn't care about anything. I was hardly eating or sleeping. And then all of a sudden, one day, like how you were describing, then it was sort of like, wait, I think I want to step
The
outside.
revelation, right?
Yeah, I think I want to get some fresh air. And it's yeah, there often is no rhyme or reason. Sometimes we just have to acknowledge it and sit with it
I think
as
that's what it was with me. I needed my body and my mind needed that time separate from the world to process all of that. And then
oh,
once I was able to, it was like a light bulb went off.
and that was so much,
Yeah, it
so
was a lot, but
much. And
here we
I
are now. So hey, good stuff comes. It does get better. You do
it
get through it.
it does get better. It really does. I mean, it truly does. If we can just, not necessarily white knuckle it, but if we can just acknowledge where we're at, how we're feeling, and just kind of just be with it versus trying to push it
Yeah.
away, it does get better. Oh
I'm
man,
always saying ride the wave, ride the wave. You just got to ride that wave.
you
You can
do.
get to the other side. You got to get to the shore, and then we'll handle it once you get there. But ride that wave. Well, we
Truly.
have another guest here today. Joey Culver is going to come on and talk about his testimony and his story. Hi, Joey.
Hey, hold on one second. Let me get my there. Hopefully, you guys can hear me.
Yeah, you
My
can
Uh-huh.
phone's
maybe
microphone is
turn it
not
down a
great,
little bit,
so turn it down a little bit. Okay.
just a tiny bit.
All
Yeah,
right.
there
How
you go.
about that?
That's better.
Sweet.
All right. So if
So
you
yeah,
want to just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your testimony, I don't know if you heard what I had to say, but tell your story your way.
yeah. Well, I'm Joey. I'm an alcoholic and a compulsive gambler in recovery. I struggled with addiction for over 20 years. Was able to make that decision finally to change my life about 18 months ago. So currently I work in a inpatient residential treatment facility for addiction. I'm a certified recovery coach. So what that means is
Awesome.
I can work with guys one-on-one and help them in their process of finding recovery. So I'm not a clinician, but I'm around the recovery world every day, and I see a lot of mental health struggle. I personally struggled with suicidal ideation in my 20s. Fortunately for me, I never got to a point where I took it any further than that. But yeah, so that's kind of my background. I work with a lot of guys who struggle with mental health. So kind of addiction and mental health kind of go hand in hand. And I wrote down some stuff, just some facts that I wanted to share. 26% of people in the United States have a diagnosable mental health disorder. Women are 2 times as likely to men to suffer with a major depressive disorder.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like, and also too, kind of, I guess one of the highest suicide rates of any addicted person is people who have compulsive gambling disorders. I feel like with that, they really run into like there's no options left, right? They've hit the end of the road. They've a lot of them have embezzled from their businesses, and they've burned all their bridges with their families. Some of them have criminal charges, or doing anything they had to do to obtain money. They're depleted. They have lost their homes, so it makes sense, right? But so yeah, and so that's kind of what I do. And I'm around a lot of mental health stuff every day, and
Well,
so I
I
have a
want
good
to say
understanding of
thank
what it is.
you for what you do, Joey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
I mean, you've
yeah,
come a long way. I'm so proud of you.
thank you. Thank you very
Because,
much. Yeah, I'm really, really passionate about what I do. I love the guys I work with, and yeah. So
so Diane, a lot of us have kind of followed Joey's story because through, all the quarantine and all that stuff. So it's been really great to watch him. He's really done awesome.
Man, that
Amazing life changes.
yeah, and I
Look
I
at you go.
I can only imagine the positive impact you're having on people as you're working with them because you know it, you've lived it, and then to try to help others. I mean that is just I mean beyond valuable and helpful. I mean, what a profound impact
And
you're making.
Diane, you were saying in your live earlier about the same thing about women having a higher percentage. Why do you think that is? Just
Well,
curious.
they say, and I tend to believe this, is, I mean, well, the collective they say that a lot of depression stems from repressed anger. And, my theory on this with women, because I do know that statistic, women are more prone to have those major depressive episodes. We're not encouraged or supported when it comes to anger. It's a very tricky thing, culturally. We're not supposed to be angry. We're supposed to be nice little girls and nice little women and not express that very natural emotion that every human being gets. And I find that the more that I channel it into music or doing stand up, it's amazing how that depression is not as common as it used to be with me. So I get that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. I think for me, I was a mom and I had my kids, and there was no time. There was no time for me to,
Yeah,
And then when I got sick, it was. I actually got diagnosed the first time when my son was in his freshman year of college. So both my kids were older, and I had Linda Rose, and she was just little, and I barely had time to be sick, right? Like, I know
right.
that sounds crazy, but in my own head, that's how you're like, I don't have time. I don't have time for I don't have time for this.
Right. Yeah. It's like self-care can be seen as selfish, right? And it's not. We have to
Yeah,
take care of ourselves. And yeah, when there's no time, yeah,
yeah,
there's going to be trouble down the road.
exactly. Um, so let's bring Renee on. I don't know who else is here or not here yet.
Hey, yeah, this is really powerful. By the way, we are simulcasting with Socially Distant Fest. We love Jake and Bethy. Thank
Excellent.
you so
Yeah.
Yes,
much.
thank you.
We cannot put those. It's just a studio thing. It's a software thing. I can see your comments, but I can't flash them on the screen from SDF. But I just wanted to read some of them so that we can
Yeah,
get
I
a.
was just gonna say I can't read the comments, so if
Yeah,
there's
I wanted to.
anything, we want their participation. So
Yeah, so Sandy D says she loves this one-on-one. John Phipps asks Diane, have you written any bits or routines about this for your comedy routine?
I've written stand-up bits and routines just based on very painful points in my life. And it is amazing how it turns, it just creates this shift. I mean, if everybody could try their hand at stand-up, I think there'd be a lot of healing going on. It's a miracle. I mean, it really is.
I agree. Yeah. Planet Claire reminds everybody, and you can see it on Diane's screen. 988 is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. So much easier to remember than the old one.
Yep.
Lily May is here. Fred Bowman is here. Vic is here. So many cool people. David is here. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Yeah, and I wanted to bring Dan on from Punk Rock Saves Lives. He's here, and he's a very, very powerful advocate. So let's bring him on right now. And yes, Rory Penland is here as well. We love you, Rory. Yes. So here's Dan.
hi Dan, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank all of you. My gosh.
So Dan and I have been messaging back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, but this is our first kind of sort of face to face. So tell us what you do from Punk Rock Saves Lives. Tell us all about it.
So I work as the director of the mental health initiative that we run. We're huge on equality and kindness and fairness across as much as, walks of life we can. We do anything from running recovery groups on our Facebook page to peer support groups weekly to help anybody that is still getting into their new regular life these days, as a lot of us still aren't on, and that's completely fine. We work alongside with body positivity being a huge thing these days and needed. Nonprofits and organizations, but we're huge on equality and wellness and learning from each other. Everything this is about is what we do. So we're all across the U.S. We've been at every major festival you can think of, from Ride Fest in a week. I'll be there in Chicago, to Lollapalooza, to Bonnaroo, setting up booths, handing out mental health resources, to test strips. Whatever's needed for a festival life, we hand out for free, because we truly do believe everybody deserves to have these types of things on the go as needed. And right now we're actually out in, I think, Oregon yesterday with Bowling for Soup and Less Than Jake. And so although we stand with punk, we're all across walks of life. So we're huge fans of every genre of music you can think of.
That's excellent. That's really awesome. I just got into their Facebook group, and just even just when the selfie comes up, that day that you do the selfies, is it Selfie
Yes.
Sunday? I think. Yeah.
You
Even
got it.
that, I'm like, I smile, right? Like, it just makes me smile. So I mean, it's
I
just
love to hear
awesome.
that.
It's just the little things, though, really, that make, for me, and I'm sure I'm not alone, it makes a big difference. It really does. So then the big stuff that you do is just, it's mind blowing. It's really awesome. It's share your link so people know your website.
Thank you so much. We work, one of our main missions is working with a company called DKMS, where we get people signed up to be on the bone marrow donor list. to help somebody with a blood-related cancer. As the list is getting larger, it is still very small, and it is separated per country as needed. But everybody is, most are able to sign up. But if you're ever a match, you and one other person are flown out and staying wherever the operation is needed, and to help literally save someone for absolutely nothing.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Man.
That's
So
awesome.
we all know somebody with a blood-related cancer, or at least cancer in our lives, whether close to our hearts, ourselves, or even a neighbor.
So how does somebody get involved if they want to help you or join, or do you have volunteers and stuff that help?
Absolutely. We actually, on our website at punkrocksaveslives.org, we actually have a link to our full list of festivals upcoming and tours that we'll be on going into this year, into next year, that people can sign up to be at the booth. You'll hand out resources. You'll talk about, what our mission is, but alongside your own story. We're huge on promoting our, talking, not promoting, but our own stories as well. We all have one. And, we have everybody that, a lot of people in our main group that travels. We have a lot of people that are sober, and they're more than open and willing to just talk and discuss as needed. Whatever it is to destigmatize what's needed now more than ever. And I think that's one of the greatest things coming out of the past 2 years is how much more open people are being, how much more judge-free there is, and moving forward from there.
So I personally have found that coming out of, so I was in pretty strict isolation, obviously, with my health issues for quite a while. And thank God for all these music groups. But I'm finding readjusting to going back into, regular life as we know it now has been harder in some ways. Like I feel uncomfortable sometimes in places where I wouldn't have before, things like that. Are you finding that with other people? Any of you can answer that, actually.
Definitely. Yeah. It took me a long time to want to really step out and start mingling again, because I'm an introvert. I battled social anxiety too when I was younger. So with the pandemic, I was very comfortable. It's like, oh, good, I get to stay home. But yeah, it's gotten much better for sure. Yeah, but it was
Yeah,
tough.
I'm doing baby steps. Baby step. I just took my big step. I went to Atlanta. I went on my trip, and that was great. I had a blast. So, you just got to do it, right?
Yeah,
Can't stay home forever. Obviously, I'm not a social introvert. I wasn't voted, shyest in my class. But my health stuff triggered my PTSD. I have pretty severe PTSD from medical stuff, and so that was hard. I see a lot of people struggling.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Joey, how about you? How is it getting? Do you notice it with people you work with and stuff? Are they struggling more now, or is it getting better?
So yeah, no, we're still over COVID in Minnesota, like ready to be done with it. But so I live in a small town now, but I just moved from the Twin Cities about 6 months ago to work where I work, and so thankfully our numbers are way down here, and life is kind of normal. But when I do go back to the Twin Cities, I do find myself kind of struggling with that anxiety of being back in the big city where there are a lot of people and a lot of things going on. And yeah, so I mean, it has its challenges, and I think that's just I think time and repetition is going to be the only thing that kind of solves that for a lot of us. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's not even so much COVID fear. I'm not afraid of getting sick. It's just, and I'm uncomfortable where I wasn't before.
Yeah,
It's a weird feeling. It's a
Completely
weird
fair.
feeling.
it
Yeah,
is.
it is. It's a strange feeling. Well, let's check with Reneé on some more comments and see if anybody has any participation. I don't know if anybody else is waiting. We had a couple more people.
Yeah, I really wanted to bring up Jay Thompson. He came in and we talked about him at the beginning. He did a very powerful stream the other day where he actually performed under a bridge where many years ago he had contemplated doing suicide. And that stream, and we're going to keep promoting it for a long time because it
Yeah, it was
resonated with
pretty
a lot
powerful.
of it was so poignant and brave and beautiful. I'm going to tear up thinking about it, but I mean, it was just beautiful. So if anyone hasn't seen it, don't worry. We will absolutely run it again and again and again. I don't know if you want to do the introduction about the message you received before we bring up Jay, or if you want me to bring up Jay now.
Bring up Jay, and I'll read it while he's here so he can
Okay.
hear it himself.
Hi,
'Cause he
Jay.
was
How's it
pretty
going?
instrumental. Hi, Jay.
Hey.
Um,
I'm honored to
so
hear how you guys feel about that video. Thank you so much.
Oh, it was
your video was
amazing.
it was so powerful. I mean, it was so touching. And when you said at the end or near the end of it, you said, "But I made it across the bridge."
Hmm.
And it was so powerful, just those little words, that short phrase. I'm like, I was literally like a ball. I was like, oh, that was a mess. I got through the whole thing, and then when you said that, I was like, it's a huge statement, a huge amount of emotion and
Yeah,
life that happened in that little phrase of you making across the bridge, right? Like
yeah,
it wasn't just a step across. So
yeah.
it was
The
pretty
bridge,
amazing.
the bridge kind of turned into from just getting from this side of the river to that side of the river, more or less turned from getting me from that bad part of my life in the past to the future, overcoming all that stuff to a place where I'm much better now.
So do
Mhm.
you want to talk a little bit, just a small smidgen of your story, and then I have something to read that was sent in after your live aired.
Okay, yeah, sure. So what I did um, 20 years ago, I walked across the bridge. It was the Ashtabula Viaduct Bridge, and I was living with a schizophrenic mother at the time, schizophrenic and bipolar, and my whole childhood, I was extremely depressed. I mean, she would tell me things like that I was worthless, and not to mention all the physical abuse. And I would go to school, and I wasn't very popular in my class, so it didn't seem like I had anybody. I mean, my dad was wonderful. My dad was great, but he worked, so I didn't see him all the time. And in my upper teen years, around 19 or so, I dated a girl for about a year and a half, and then after we broke up, I sunk down pretty bad just because of the situation that I was still in with my mom and everything. And uh, I come walking across this bridge. I was ready to jump off. It's a very tall bridge, and I'm listening to music. I was listening to Nine Inch Nails at the time. I believe it was either that or Korn, some heavy metal, But it was stuff that was actually mirroring my emotions. They were screaming about what I was feeling, and it made me think for a minute that these guys are doing this. They're they've went through all that same crap that I went through, and but they've turned it into music, and now they're telling the whole world about what they went through with their music. And I thought, that's what I want to do. And so I didn't I didn't jump off the bridge. I looked a little bit longer, thinking, yeah, it'd probably all stop if I just. But I want to tell that story. I want to see if I can make the same kind of music for other people that is helping me. So I kept going off of the bridge, made it across the bridge, and kept going through life. The only thing I left out of that one live that I did on the 4th was that it wasn't actually one day. I walked across that bridge a lot, and most of the time, I mean, this is like 20 years ago. I was 19, 20, around that time. I probably started walking across that bridge around 15 or 16, actually, feeling the same way. All those years, kind of longingly eyeballing the edge of it. But it was that I just felt the need to, because I already knew I was musical. I've been writing music as long as I can remember. I was like, I've got to try and make the same kind of thing for other people. See if I can help them as well.
Yeah, and I one of the things I'd like for you to say to tonight's audience, Jay, is what really resonated from with me from your live stream that day was you talked about all the amazing things that happened to you after you didn't jump from the bridge, your children, military service. Um, and you said that a number of times. And I think that for anyone who's contemplating trying to have that solution, what can you say
Hmm.
about it getting better, about
Yeah,
waiting it out, and how things
hmm,
absolutely always change?
yeah. That's the hardest part. While you're in the depressing moment where you're suicidal and you feel like it's hopeless and you're complete despair, it's really hard to try and shake that and try and force yourself to think that this right now is only temporary. And however bad it is in this moment, 5 years from now, a lot can change. And 5 years sounds like a long time, maybe, but it's going to come regardless. The more you go through life, the more years behind you seem like they're going by faster and faster, and after a while, you wish they go by slower. But yeah, life in the future, there's always the chance that something so amazing is going to happen, and you're going to want to be there to see it happen. You're going to want to. You can't cut yourself short because, I mean, something it could be 10 or 15 years from now. It could be next month. Yeah, I think somebody said, "Don't kill yourself 5 minutes before the miracle." Who knows when it's going to happen, but you want to be there to see it happen as long as you can, anyways. And that
Yes.
was that was one of the things that stuck that I wanted to say.
It was such a powerful live. So
Yeah.
many people reached out afterwards, and literally, you know me. Normally, I'm right there to answer the messages, and and no time wasted, right? But it took me like till the next day before I was really answering messages because it was a lot, and I'm so grateful you're here. I'm
Yeah,
so
thank you.
grateful you're here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
ever since then, now I have a family. I pulled my son over here a second ago, but yeah, I've got two kids, a wife. I've got this whole the cosmos thing that's going on and being connected with SDF and everybody. It's like a dream come true for me. I love this kind of stuff. Getting the position of design team leader, I'm so happy about that. I love this kind of stuff. It's what I wanted to do 20 years ago, and I didn't quite get into it. But if I would have killed myself 20 years ago jumping off of that bridge, all this stuff, and who knows what else is coming. I've got some pretty big plans. If I can pull that off, that's you can't cut yourself short from what could happen in the future. You just gotta the moment something's probably going on that really sucks, and so there's a little bit of a journey to try and overcome that. But that you gotta hang on and just keep going, get through the dark forest.
Jay, there was something about, I mean, your stream Under the Bridge was so powerful, and I was struck by the joy that was coming through while you were playing, and it just really moved me. And then your live stream today, those sun rays were hitting you, and it was just beautifully symbolic to me of the journey that you've shared with us. I mean, you have to watch your live stream back today. Those sun rays were like beaming out of you. It was
I was trying to.
It was beautiful.
I set it up in the shadows so that it wouldn't blind the camera, and then only 20 minutes goes by. Now the sun's shining on it.
oh, it was beautiful.
So you had said in your live when you did your testimony, you had said about you felt like halfway through that live when you were playing your music that you were somehow like reclaiming that bridge as a positive place, right? And
Yeah.
that hit me. I was like, if that's the only thing that happens this month, I'm okay. I'm happy. But then after your live, something even more amazing happened, and I want to share that with everybody if you're okay with it.
Yeah,
The email
that's
that I
good.
received. Okay.
Hmm.
So we received an email, or I received an email shortly after Jay's live, and like I said, I hadn't opened them because it took me a little while after his live to process everything, and so I wasn't immediate in my response. But this person, I'm just going to read a short bit. They wrote, I'm sending email because I don't want to say my name. I have friends and family in groups. I downloaded Jay's video and it's on repeat. I gave up on living and just want to die daily. I figured if he can do it, so can I. I went to stay with my friend while I get help. I'm going to start crying. I want to get the books he mentioned, and I just want you guys, I want to tell you guys you helped me. I had everything ready. They were ready, right? They were going to
Hmm.
kill themselves.
Yep.
So, how, wow, right? I don't care
That,
if a dime is donated.
yeah,
After
that
that,
right
I was
there.
like, this whole month, all the
Hmm.
work,
That, and I
my
never,
heart was full.
I make music to try and help people. I write today. I went to the studio. I'm working on 2 albums simultaneously, but they're like always, it's to try and help people get through depression. And where was I going with this? um,
Well, you saved somebody's life. I mean,
oh,
literally, your
yeah,
live
yeah.
saved somebody's life.
I never really expect or know if my music is actually going to get to somebody, if I'm actually going to help. And then hearing that, that's all I ever wanted to hear. that's to hear that it
It
works.
took me a while to. It took me a little while before I could even. And then I like brought it to Reneé, and then I brought it to you, and then I mean
Yeah,
I checked with the person first, and
yeah.
they want to remain anonymous, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm respecting. I don't know who it is, so
Right.
and I'm not trying to find out. I'm not actively trying to find out because I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
respect that. But um, somebody in our circles, that
Yeah,
helped, and thank God because I that wouldn't have made my month
yeah,
had something
yeah.
happened.
Mm-hmm.
And Joey is going to do a live this month. Do you know what day it is, Joey? I don't have it written in front of me.
Yep, it's Wednesday, I believe at 6:30 or 7 p.m. Central.
Can
Okay.
somebody here, I think anyone on the screen here, we have some experts here, talk a little bit about isolation and suicidal ideation. I mean, Jay Thompson doing his live stream, talking about his testimony, everyone up here, everyone who's been giving their testimonies, the community itself, SDF, KMH, Cosmos Television, all of these things, when you feel like you're not alone, can we talk a little bit about what that does? How you get an email like that, where somebody's watching Jay Thompson and says, if you can do it, I can do it.
So I'm gonna divert to either Dan or Joey or Diane
Yeah.
on that
There's
one. I don't want to say the wrong thing. Not an expert.
Yeah, there's a science behind it. I know also with addiction as well. They talk about addiction is the opposite of, so like community does help.
there's something quite amazing when it comes down to that we all are connected. We all have our differences. We all have things we'll side upon, but at the end of the day, what saved me at my lowest points was the fact that we all go through the same thing at a different time. There's a lot of things we want in life that we see friends and family going through, good things, obviously, that we wish, man, I wish I could have done that more in high school, or I wish I had that group friends. But you kind of get older and those good things you make time for. The biggest thing is you make time for it, and it's having that community and that, as I always say, family's family. You don't get to choose, but with your blood family, but your family, your actual bonding family that you can relate to, you hold close, and you make sure you do. but in a crazy way, you make sure you do, and it's flawless. It really doesn't take a lot of effort, but that line specifically, we all go through the same thing at a different time. You've survived 100% of your worst days, all of us. We think in the moment, in those moments that feel like a week, with certain points with what Jay was talking about, where that hour or two with him contemplating probably felt like a lifetime. In the long run, you wake up the next day and you're just like, wow, that was insane. That felt like forever when it really wasn't. But it's just full proof that, we can really escape. We can really get out of anything. And, going back to Jay, what I love is like how hard work and dedication pay off. Having a clean mindset really is a driving force. I live off of breathing techniques, whatever it may be, whether it's entering a doctor's office or whatever, everything's slowly connected when you really piece it all together in the long run.
Yeah. I think it's important too, when we know we're not alone in having those moments or those feelings, or just wanting that relief. Like now I think it's helpful, and it just removes the shame, because I think, there can be shame around that feeling. It's like, am I supposed to be having these thoughts? What's wrong with me? Oh my God, am I the only one? And then I think when we realize, no, not, it really, I think, removes that shame that can bring us to that dark space, or keep us in that dark space.
So for me, during the pandemic, when all of these groups formed, right? You had QK, you had SDF, you had Cosmos, you had KMH, and a million others, and then a bunch that branched off. And I don't sleep, as we all know. Part of my illness is I literally do not sleep. I have to go be put to sleep for like 12 hours, and then I get sent home again. So I lay there in the dark, right? My husband's sleeping. I don't want to disturb him. So there's nights where I sit there in the dark, and what am I doing? My brain is going over every little thing, every problem. Then the pandemic hit. Here we are stuck at home. Now I'm stuck at home, and I'm not sleeping, and I'm in pain, and I'm sitting there at night. Thank God for these groups, because I am able to put my earphones in, roll over with my phone or my iPad, and just listen to music. And most of the other people have an illness, they were isolated for the same reasons, or they have struggling with anxiety. And then just the fact of like, I like to write. I consider myself a writer first. So all these creatives, and that I fed off that, it was like really uplifting and energetic for me. I felt like it gave me energy. It was like fuel for me. And so I don't know how everybody else felt about it, but it's amazing to me, the difference. And I don't know if the people that started these groups, like I try to tell Joseph Myers, or, Betsy and Jake were always saying thank you, John and Reneé. It's like, I don't know if they can ever truly know how huge an impact it has been for people, these groups, because I struggled. I don't know how I might have been divorced by now. No, I'm just kidding. I would have been waking my husband up. I can't sit in the dark. Just that outlet.
It's like that positive energy chain, it just keeps building and connecting. And I can certainly,
and the stigma. I felt comfortable saying, today was kind of a down day. I'm in pain, or, listening to somebody else. And I'm up 24/7. So I have people call me at 3 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm okay with that, because I'm awake. And if I need somebody, I know there's people there. So it's really great. It's a great community of people. It's amazing.
Yeah. And that reminds me of like Ruby Ray Moore. She's one of our show hosts. And of course, she goes live on Drunkles, on SDF and all that. And she has her own show, Bitchin' in Ruby's Kitchen, on Cosmos. And she said, I found my tribe. you know. And it's like
Yeah.
before these groups, a lot of us felt like the weirdo, you know, and then we realized we're not the weirdo, you know. It's just we didn't find our tribe, you know. Exactly.
We
So I
finally
think
did.
that just that connection, and yeah, we've had viewers from the ICU, we've had viewers from funerals tuning in just to sort of remind themselves they're not alone. It's just really cool, you know. I wanted to say Jake Allen is here. Of course, Jake and Bethy are the founders of SDF. We love them. We appreciate them. They have saved so many lives by doing what they do. Jake said to Jay Thompson, "You've been a blessing in so many people's lives, Jay. So glad you stuck around." Jay knows how to pick a backdrop. Yeah, I still remember the first time I saw Jay Thompson. He was on SDF and he was standing in a river with his kids jumping around. And I said, I got to see who this is. Who plays a guitar in a river? It was great. Planet Claire says something that I'd like Diane to, a little practical thing. Planet Claire said a person could get a therapist and possibly meds. Some therapists may be free through assistance programs. Diane, do you want to weigh in on that?
In terms of accessibility, that kind of thing?
Accessibility, yeah. If somebody's having these, you know, suicidal ideation, where do they go? What's the? I mean, they call 988.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first step. You've got to make this call, and you know, I said this during my live stream as well that you know, we as therapists, I mean, I can speak for myself and my therapist friends. We have a sliding scale and we'll do pro bono work. So never be afraid to ask. If you find a therapist, let's say on betterhelp.com or psychologytoday.com, which are two very solid ways to look for therapists. They're all vetted, they're all licensed. You know, we have to jump through a lot of hoops to get on those, to advertise in that way. Never be afraid to ask, do you offer a sliding scale? Can you do, you know, some pro bono sessions? This is what's going on with me. And never be afraid to ask, because we will step forward. We will.
Wow, that's so helpful, because I know a lot of people feel like they want to get help. They just don't know how, or they think there's going to be all this red tape.
Right. Yeah.
So that's helpful.
Yeah, and you know, community health centers also will offer. Sometimes it's sort of like, well, what can you pay? Well, I can pay $5. Okay, that's what it's going to be. I know in the county that I live, they offer that, and it is the right thing to do. I mean, we're all in this together. And for me, it's like, if somebody can't pay my fee, what can you pay? Okay, here we go. I'm here. And that's just so important.
Yeah. Reneé, do we have Ro, or was she not able to make it?
Ro hasn't been able to make it, and Chris Duell, I'm repping him tonight. He's not able to make it as well, but we love Chris Duell. I'm also wearing my I Choose Awesome. Tom Cheshire is in the audience. We love you, Tom Cheshire, and everything. He's one of the reasons too why, I mean, he came in with the BLT show. He and Lars Nagel at CAMH. A lot
He's
of
the
us.
one that hooked us up with Dan. He connected me with Dan.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. You want to talk a little about Tom Cheshire, Dan? I know you guys have done collaboration.
So PRSL started in late 2019 from a great idea from Rob Rover as our nonprofit based out of Denver, with the guitarist Nathan Maxwell of Flogging Molly. So really good friends with the punk scene with a lot of these bands. So in early 2020, about April, when everything started, we kind of had this idea of, hey, let's do something called a PMA session, which stands for Positive Mental Attitude, taking it off of a song from the well-known punk reggae band Bad Brains. So pretty much it's understanding to have a cleaner mindset, not always clear, but you know, the best that we can. And so we started these sessions with his wife Tina and then my co-host Mackenzie, and we all have our little backgrounds that help making these sessions flow well, because we all have a little background in each thing. One of us is sober. I'm quite open about anything I can be to help, by all means. And so our first guest was, you know, it was kind of funny looking back earlier this month, but our first guest was Tom. And our connection just hit it off the bat there. So we do them every Wednesday night. I think we didn't skip an entire night, a Wednesday during the week for an entire year and a half. So we had guests from all across the board with music and comedians and good friends we've met over the years. But Tom and I hit it off pretty as if we've been brothers forever. Every like Friday, I'll always send him a song, and I don't know why. There's just been like a solid connection that I've never understood, that I've never cared to, because it doesn't need to be. And so we talk as much as we can, keep each other posted. And he brought me in here, as I'm very grateful, and that communities like this have started, because like all of you have said, like the connections that are being made, the stories that are being shared are astronomical. And it's just truly great to see.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Tom's pretty great. I got to meet him when I was in Atlanta, and yeah, he's pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about him.
He's the best. He's the best.
Oh, yes, you've performed with him quite a bit, huh?
Oh yeah.
Diane?
Oh yeah. There's so many fond memories of just not, no rehearsal. Hey, let's just see how this goes, and just having a blast. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, Tom's energy is just so great and so positive.
That's pretty awesome. All right, well, let's bring Reneé on, and we're going to get ready to say goodbye to everybody. I appreciate everybody. I thank everybody for being here. I want to really thank everybody that has been performing. I mean, right down to everybody that's mentioned it in their lives, and I know it's not easy. And for those sharing their stories, I'm so grateful. And we still have a long month, so if anybody wants to share their testimony, please message me and or Bethy, Allen, and be sure to tune in. We have another open forum at the end of the month. We're going to focus, instead of on our backside of our story, the sadder part, we're going to focus on where we are now and the good stuff. And hopefully the audience can participate, and we can share the good stuff.
Yeah, and I had one more question to end on for Diane or anyone else here. If you have a friend or a neighbor or a colleague that you think is in danger, how do you react with that person? Do you try to give them resources? A lot of people don't want that. Maybe somebody's not in that headspace. What is the best way of dealing with somebody that you might know who you think may be in crisis? You might not even be really sure.
Well, I would say a family has to be involved first and foremost. Close family members, supportive family members really have to be involved. I guess it depends on how strong the concern is, but you got to have eyeballs on that person for sure. And typically it's, maybe a close cousin or somebody who can do those check-ins that's right there and local.
Okay.
That's really important.
I'd add in anything on the line of being there from afar. You don't want to be anything scaring them, and do your best from the distance to, I know it's difficult, but to remain calm through it. We tend to be shocked that someone we know is going through something as hard as this, and we're really quick to not only judge but say things that shouldn't be said. So in doing so, just throw it in. Just do your best to just kind of set aside the judgment, set aside the "I wish I knew this sooner," because none of that, that's already happened. None of that exists besides the present moment. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. Really powerful.
Yeah, when I was going through when I had my that major depression that I went through, I just needed space. So I had people that were checking on me. I was at my mom's, my sister was checking on me, my mom was checking, but I also had my space, my husband, my kids. They weren't calling me and coming in and being like, they gave me that space that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And as hard as that was for them, it was the best thing they could have ever done for me. They were there. I knew they were there. You know, they checked in on me, but they didn't push me.
Right.
And so that was important because it let me get through those emotions. I had a lot to go through. So I think we all do when we're in that moment. It's a lot to process.
Right. Yeah. I want to say from SDF, sweet Lorraine is here. We love Lorraine. EJR is here. Emily Jane Roberts. We love her. She's a superstar. She said, thank you all. Joe Willie is here. He's another superstar. We love his music. He said, great to hear about people finding therapy and healing. It reminds me, though, that access to health care of all kinds is a political issue. Ruby Ray Moore said, thank you, Farwell, for taking care of this, working so hard day and night. And that is true. She does not sleep 24 hours a day. She is absolutely the reason for the season right now. Planet Claire gives her thanks and a heart and a wave. David William Myers said, don't ever try to tell people that things aren't that bad and that they shouldn't feel the way that they feel. And certainly don't be the, if you think that's bad, let me tell you about my thing person. Yeah, we don't want to be that person. I agree. I agree. Yeah. So thank you again to SDF, to everybody at Cosmos Television and SDF and all of these wonderful communities. Farwell, of course, for putting this all together. All of September is going to be Suicide Prevention Month. And it's going to be just amazing. And we're saving lives. I mean, we already have one verified life saved, which would be more than enough by watching Jay Thompson's stream. And we're going to start putting that up there more and more. I mean, I think that's something that I mean, I've wanted to watch it many more times as well, but everybody's testimony is so valid. Everybody who shares their story, you are so courageous. You are saving lives. And if you don't feel like sharing your story yet, you're still courageous because you're still here. And so we're proud of everybody. We love everybody.
Yes, I should say also, Reneé, that not everybody that's going live during the month randomly is sharing a testimony. Some of them are sharing how they've supported a family member, or they're just sharing the fact that they don't want to tell their story, but they've had a loss or what have you, and they just want to show support to the community. So anybody who wants to do that, please let me or Betsy know.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Oh, Jay Thompson, here you go.
I'd just like to say the last forum that we're going to do, that one's going to be, I think, the 24th. That's the Jay's Jam Fest 8. There's still 2 spots open on that. So if anybody wants to jump on the lineup for that whole Jam Fest obviously is going to be themed out for the Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. So we'll post up all the links again. And I think Roe is going to headline that one at 8 o'clock. And then 10 o'clock will be the next forum. So.
Wow. Yeah. And so if anyone wants to join that, they should reach out to you directly, Jay Thompson, correct? Okay.
Please.
All right.
We'll work on getting Roe. We'll work on Roe. Make sure she gets here for the next one. Because I really wanted her to do her candle.
Me too.
I wanted her to do her hug and
She's amazing. We love Rocket Row. Oh my gosh, she's incredible. So thank you everybody so much. And Replay Squad, we want to greet all of you, whether you're watching on SDF or Cosmos TV. Good night, everybody, and we'll be seeing you around. Love everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.